At first glance, the lack of punctuation capitalization in Nikki Giovanni's ego tripping seems to serve no specific purpose. When you consider the overwhelming theme of boundlessness present in the poem, conventional punctuation and capitalization begin to seem almost futile. Her sentences do not end because the speaker is limitless, timeless. She has not capitalized her proper nouns because nothing stands above her. The poem could be interpreted as just being a rant by a narcissistic woman from the Congo, but I see a much deeper meaning in her ego trip. The speaker is not just a deity, she is a divine creator. She is not just a woman, but a proud and generous mother. Her ego surpasses the realistic limits of a human being, but it also breaks boundaries of race, religion, class, time, and geography. These facts illuminate the message that I believe Giovanni is trying to deliver through ego tripping. Realization of oneself brings realization of one's boundlessness. Furthermore, realization of one's true nature comes from what one is given to the world, not from what one has. The speaker's boundlessness and unlimited potential is manifested in two major ways in the poem: the miracles that she herself created and the miracles of her children. Giovanni expresses these transformative ideas through a simple, profound style of poetry, utilizing lack of punctuation and minimal capitalization to achieve a work that rebels against the limits that we, as humans, thought that we could not go without. Ego tripping is an inspirational work about self-discovery, self-empowerment, and self-transformation. Considering the lack of punctuation, capitalization within the stanzas in the poem Ego Tripping, it appears to have been written free-form, but it's not how it appears. There is a definite pattern in the work, and it is in the recurring structure and theme present in each stanza. No matter how strange or fantastical the speaker's hyperboles are, they always pertain to an act of generosity that the goddess is directly or indirectly responsible for. More importantly, it is these acts of giving which ultimately shape the identity of the speaker. In every stanza, this generosity is quite apparent. Take these lines from the first stanza, for example. I walked to the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that only glows every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine perfect light. I am bad. In this stanza, the speaker explains what she has given to the North African world, claiming responsibility for the Sphinx and the anomaly that is a pyramid. The adjective that the speaker first uses to describe herself could have been anything from divine to supreme, but she says simply she is bad. This unconventional poetic diction creates an unusually confident tone for the poem and the speaker. She is, for lack of a better word, a goddess, but she directly defines herself in a way that only a contemporary human would. The poem is filled with the speaker's accounts of gifts to mankind only a supremely powerful being could have conjured, but at the end of the second stanza, for example, she describes herself in a way that is undoubtedly human. I am a beautiful woman. The unconventional style and structure of ego tripping makes for the true identity of its speaker to be open to question. To be fair, there is a definite duality in the identity of this nameless narrator. On one side, she is a timeless and playful goddess, seated on a throne, drinking nectar with Allah, and yet she is also portrayed as a strong and virtuous woman, who brags for her children just as any proud mother would. My son Noah built a new ark, and I stood proudly at the helm, as we sailed on a soft summer day. The duality that I am suggesting should not be understood as an actual split in the speaker's identity. It's merely a convenient way of trying to understand the abstract descriptions the poem provides for us. The truth is that the two sides of this duality, mother and goddess, are actually interdependent and inseparable. There's no instance where the speaker claims to be simply one or the other. In the first 5 stanzas of the poem, both parts of her identity are consistently reinforced. A great example of how Giovanni merges the speaker's divine and human traits is in the 3rd stanza, where the speaker burns out a forest with her gaze to create the Sahara Desert, then proceeds to cross in 2 hours with nothing but a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes. The writer manages to create dual hyperboles, exploring the realms of possibility within the speaker, who uses her divine powers to carve out a great desert and then conquers it as a human being with the swiftness of a gazelle. Whether the speaker is actually intended to be viewed as a god or as human, it is clear that Giovanni's goal is to express the boundlessness and vast potential for self-transformation that is available to each of us as co-creators in this changing universe. This message becomes coherent when Giovanni writes in the 5th stanza, I turned myself into myself and was Jesus. Giovanni emphasizes her message of human balance quite cleverly with the use of punctuation and capitalization. There is absolutely no punctuation at all, in fact, until the last 2 lines of the poem. This lack of punctuation, as well as the organization and division of stanzas, allows for the poem to have a form while also appearing formless simultaneously. I understand the contradictory nature of the poem to be an intentional parallel to the speaker's dual identity in being both human and divine. The nature of the divine is assumed to be absolutely limitless with no form, while humans are assumed to be essentially limited by their mortality and ultimately by the form which they identify with. Giovanni's use of capitalization also seems to serve a specific purpose, as it clearly breaks the conventional rules of English. She consistently capitalizes the words my and I, while unapologetically refusing to capitalize any of the proper nouns in her many allusions to important figures, such as Nefertiti, Noah, Hannibal, Allah, and Jesus. The purpose of this unusual use of capitalization coincides strongly with the title of the poem, Ego Tripping. I, the speaker seems to say, owe respect to no man, woman, nor God. In this way, the use of capitalization is undoubtedly a reflection of the speaker's rebellious and self-empowering spirit. Considering these observations, it is apparent that Giovanni intentionally breaks convention in her poem in order to fully express a message of higher individuality. The speaker does not deny respect to these great people and prophets just to prove she is better than everyone else, but rather to say to each of us, each individual is a unique and unparalleled miracle of the universe. The 7th stanza of the poem expresses this idea beautifully. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal, I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. To me, these lines perfectly parallel the main theme of ego tripping, which is that the door to the boundlessness within us can be locked, but only by ourselves. In her poem, Giovanni manages to transcend the social order of her time by writing poetry which celebrates the empowerment of women. The theme, boundlessness versus limitations, in her poem is revealed on a multitude of levels throughout, especially in its overall formation and diction.